Hello YouTube, Dr. Kemp here again, Hammond Doc, and I'm here with my granddaughter,
Dr. E. Dr. Janessa E. Camp,
yeah.
and we're working together. Here we go for church.
We're here together for church. Well, we're here together today in the shop, and we're going to be talking about Tung Soul 6550 tubes, and I want to share with you the different types of Tung Soul 6550
Is this
tubes.
Tung Soul?
Yeah, these are Tung Souls, and we're going to show them. And the Tung Soul 6550 is the most popular 6550 audio output tube that is used in the Leslie amplifier for the Leslie 122, 147, 22H, Leslie 47, 250, and 251, as well as the Leslie 51. It was, and as I've said on a previous video, was the tube that was used by Jimi Hendrix. It is a great sounding tube. It was well manufactured when it was made back in the 1960s. And let me show you this tube. This is the most rare form of the Tung Soul 6550. It is the black plate. It has a black solid plate. See, there are no holes in the plate. It has a triple getter. The getter here on the side, and here that they hold gas, the getters. And you can see the name here. It says Tung Soul, made in the USA. Also, to be able to recognize the Tung Souls, the date codes, which are here at the bottom, start out with the number 32. Okay.
What's 32? Where is it?
32. It's written down here. And this is the black. The black. You want to get down, baby? The black plate Tung Soul is the most rare of the Tung Soul 6550. Therefore, it is the most difficult to come by. And it is the most valuable, the most expensive tube that Tung Soul made. A black plate Tung Soul may run you $300 to $350 to $400 for one of these tubes. Now, one that looks very much, and also notice this, the Coke bottle shape. So that's Tung Soul. They have the Coke bottle shape. Another tube that looks just like it, except it has the gray solid plate, is the gray solid plate Tung Soul. See, it says Tung Soul, made in the USA. It has a date code on it with 32. That begins with 32. These tubes were made in the 1960s, later after the black plate. So they're rare, but less rare than the black plate Tung Souls. Prices on these might be $250 to $300 to $350, depending on the quality of the tube. You would have to check them in the tube tester, but again, you're dealing with the excellent audio output tubes in the vintage Tung Soul when you get good ones. Again, you have the triple getter here on the side, another getter here, and a getter in the top with the Bakelite type bass here. Coke bottle shape. All right. Here is another type. Hey guys, I'm recording. A third type of tongue sole is a tongue sole with the holes in the plate. And again, these tongue soles have the triple getter, as well as the date code begins with 32. Coke bottle shape, same kind of base, and these are less rare. You can less rare than the solid plate ones, and less valuable as well. The price on these might be $150 to $200 a piece, depending on the quality of the tube. Okay, but they are still of excellent quality with regard to their sound and what they produce. Now, tongue sole made tubes that were purchased or bought by other companies in the United States and around. And for example, here's one. This is a tongue sole. You can see this is a gray plate, solid gray plate tongue sole. That was made or sold to IBM. So you see IBM on the label. But it has still made in USA. It has a date code of 32 on it. Now IBM put their numbers on there, 50. But this is an authentic, valuable tongue sole tube that was made for IBM. So it is an authentic tube. Here's another one. This is one that has the holes in the plate, made for RCA. Okay, so this is an authentic tongue sole, 6550 tube, has all the characteristics of the tongue soles with the name printed on it. Here's another one that was made for GE, General Electric, and it has the holes in it. Okay, so but it's the same tube. It's the same tongue sole, 6550 tube. Now, as I said in an earlier video, tongue sole is no longer making tubes in the United States with tongue sole brand on it that says made in the USA. But now there is a company from Russia that is producing a tongue sole that has the same specs as the vintage tongue sole with the holes. So the name, the company New Sensor that manufactures this tube, and I buy them brand new out of New Jersey, I believe it is. But it says made in Russia, and it's the Tung Soul. These are excellent tubes. These are the tubes that I place into my customers' amplifiers. I sell them a brand new tube when I refurbish, rebuild their amps, and I check their tubes, and if the tubes are weak, and I will replace those tubes with a new set of Tung Soul 6550s. I do not use the vintage, extremely expensive tubes in my customer amplifiers. They're too expensive for most customers. Only a collector, a customer who is a collector, who would want to spend this type of money. You're talking about, say, $400 on one of these tubes, and you need two of them. That's $800 on two 6550 tubes. A brand new 122 amplifier costs about $625. So you can get two tubes like this that would cost more than the amplifier that they're going in. Now, I use these in my personal amplifiers. In fact, I can show you here. If you look at my collection of amplifiers, that's my son Arrington there working. But I can show you, those are 6550s in that 122. If you look at that shelf of amplifiers, you'll see all Tung Soul 6550, and they're all labeled Tung Soul. They don't say RCA. Here's some more. Here's another shelf with 6550s. These are 122 amplifiers. I have another shelf. Here's another one. Hey, Arrington, move to the side a little bit and move that box for me, please. I'm going to slide to the side. Here's another shelf with, these are Leslie 147s. Okay? And those also have 6550s. And I believe there's a 147 that's missing some tubes. We'll have to place some 6550s, but I have some here on my desk, and I have some, and I have others stored. That box down there has some tubes in it, and so I have plenty of those, of the vintage tubes. So the bottom line is that I don't sell generally those vintage 6550s. They're too expensive, and most people don't want to pay that type of money to have those installed in their amplifiers, and that's fine with me, because, like I said, all of my amps that I have connected to my personal organs that I retain for personal use here in my home or for our ministry, use the vintage, more expensive 6550s, because they're mine. They belong to me, and I'm a collector. So anyway, these new 6550s, they run about $50 a piece. So they're affordable. So to a customer, they're fine. I mean, they work perfectly, and they're just wonderful tubes. So there's nothing wrong with the new 6550s. They come in this shiny box. The vintage box was a box that looked like this, but it wasn't shiny. But this is a shiny box, and that's what they come in. Okay. Now I want to show you a tube that was made to look like the Tung Soul tubes, but what it does is it tends to fool people. And you have to be careful about this. It's a 6550. See, look at it. Looks like it's a Coke bottle shape. It has the gray plates. It has the triple holes. It has the triple getter. The getter on the side. Another getter here and a getter in the top. Looks like the Tung 6550. It's a nice looking tube, isn't it? Beautiful plate here. You can use it in an amplifier. But let me show you something. Look at here. This tube was manufactured by a company called United Electron. And it was not made by Tung Soul. If you look at this tube very closely and compare it to a Tung Soul, here's the Tung Soul, here's the Tung Soul, and this is the United Electron. And you can look this up on the internet. You can Google it. Number one, you will notice that the holes in the Tung Soul are smaller than the holes in this United Electron 6550. Okay? They're not the same tube. This is not a Tung Soul tube. This is the Tung Soul tube. Secondly, this tube, this United Electron tube, says out of Patterson, New Jersey, was actually made in China. This is a Chinese tube, as opposed to the American tubes, USA tubes, and the new Russian-made Tung Soul, which is made to the specs of the American Tung Soul tube. This is a Chinese tube. It doesn't have the same specs. It's a cheaper knockoff version of the Tung Soul tube. Made to look like it, made to appear like the Tung Soul, but it doesn't work like the Tung Soul. You put a Tung Soul in a Leslie 122 or 147, you can crank up the volume. You can drive a good Tung Soul. You can drive it. With this tube, you put it in an amplifier and you begin to push it, you begin to drive it. In other words, you increase the volume and you push it, this tube will begin to distort. So you begin to hear distortion. So the harder you push this tube, the more distortion you're going to get. That's what's going to happen. This tube cannot handle the pressure that can be handled by a Tung Soul 6550. This is a cheaper tube, and you're going to get a cheaper sound. You're not going to get the same quality. So I wanted to point this out to you, that you need to be careful. If someone puts one of these tubes in your amplifier, you want to be aware of what's going on. Or if you buy some of these, or you're purchasing some tubes, 6550s, you're trying to buy some off of eBay, and you get one of these in your stash, know what you have. It's not a Tung Soul. It's a Chinese knockoff of the Tung Soul, and it is not going to give you what you're looking for or would be looking for in a Tung Soul 6550. It's not the same. Okay? So, that's all I have for you in this segment. And I'm going to leave you for right now. Till the next time. Peace be unto you. In other words, peace. And I'm out of here.